Chair of the El Paso Community College Board of Trustees, and I want to welcome you to the special meeting scheduled today at 4 o'clock. If you're at home with your computer on, you can go to www.youtube.com/user/GoUPCC. I want to welcome everyone here. I guess we should do the pledge of allegiance. Let's do that.
Sure.
Feel patriotic.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Bill, call the roll.
Mr. Mendez.
Present.
Mrs. Moy.
Here.
Dr. Graham. Mr. Haggerty.
Here.
Mr. Uxer, Mrs. Robles, and Ms. Nájera will not be present.
So we do have a quorum, correct?
Yes. Open forum, there is none. Section 5, discussion action items. Item 5.1, Ms. Maria Fernanda Urbina, Managing Director and Investment Banker, Hilltop Securities, Inc., will present on the Combined Fee Revenue Improvement Bond Series 2016.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Chairman Haggerty, Board of Trustees, Dr. Serrata. For the record, my name is Maria Urbina with Hilltop Securities, and with me is Ivan Alvarado, my colleague, and we serve as municipal advisors to the district. And so we're here tonight because we're going to be discussing an item that is favorable to the college. And so what I want to do first and foremost is just kind of go back a little bit, because I know some of you haven't been through the bond issuance process. So let me go ahead and just kind of get us started. And I'll tell you a little bit more about our firm as we go through the presentation. So going back to basically the basics of municipal finance. So issuers like the college, okay, you have the ability to take out debt to issue large projects, okay? And the way that you do that, legally you have the ability to issue bonds, okay? So bonds are basically a security. It's a loan, just simple as that, which you take out and you pay interest, and you have investors that actually purchase your bonds, okay? And so the question that you may have is, okay, well, why do we need this, right? Well, typically you have large projects that you finance. For example, there's public infrastructure, there are essential buildings like your college campuses, your administration building. All of those type of projects are big projects that usually you don't have pay-go money that you can fund, year to year. So you issue bond over 25 to 30 years to be able to finance those projects, okay? And so what we're going to be talking about tonight is back in 2016, the college actually issued about $105 million of debt for certain renovations and also new campuses to the college, okay? And so what we're talking about tonight is a fourth way of using bonds, just to refinance the old bonds, okay? So we're looking to save money to the district. All right, so it's very much like, for example, if you take out a loan for your home and you want to refinance because interest rates are low, this is exactly what we're doing here tonight, okay? As your municipal advisors, I'll tell you that what we do, okay, we have an office here in El Paso. We're located downtown. So what we do is we monitor the market. We assist the college when you need to issue debt. We actually were here 10 years ago issuing the 2016 bonds. So we're here tonight. And what I'm having in this slide, we have the outstanding debt for the college. So right now, you have $105.1 million of debt outstanding. Your debt is right now still about 17 years out, and so right now the interest rates that you're paying on this bond is about 3 1/8 and about 5 1/4. Okay, interest rates. Now the final maturity for these bonds is in 2042. Okay, this is the only bond issue that you have outstanding. Now the next thing that I want to talk about is the refinancing, because I think this is really what you want to hear and you want to know about tonight. So there are about $100.9 million of the bonds that you have outstanding that could be refinanced for cheaper or lower interest rates, okay? So what we're looking at here with current market conditions is a total savings on the gross of your debt of about $9.1 million, okay? So that is about, roughly about 6.67% net present value, which is today's dollars. Now, what does that mean to the college? So that means that you would be saving or paying less, about $570,000 of debt per year. Okay, so you would be, right now you're paying roughly, going back to, my slide here, you'll see the debt service, you're paying about $9 million of debt per year. So saving roughly about $570,000 is a lot of money. So what we want to do is come to you, it's going to be in December, so tonight is really just a work session. There's no action really needed. However, it is for information and for you to digest until the December meeting. So what we want to do coming in December is to have the board authorize a parameter authorization. At that time, we would have authorization to issue the bonds. You would delegate a group of your leadership. In this case, it would be the president, it would be the vice president of financial and administrative operations, and the chief financial officer. So those individuals would have the responsibility to actually execute on the refinance, okay, or the refunding of these bonds. I'm going to go through the parameters because, again, this is really what we're going to use to make sure that we can actually execute on these on the refinance. So the aggregate principal amount cannot exceed $103,910,000. That's basically the amount that is due on the principal plus accrued interest plus cost of issuance, okay? That's basically how we came up with that number. The minimum present value savings, no less than 3%. As I mentioned on my last slide, you're at about 6.7%. So you're way above that. The maximum true interest cost capped at 4.75%. As I mentioned on my last slide, we're at about 3.75%. So that is 1% above. That gives us flexibility if the market moves. If the market moves, sorry, this cursor. Okay, so if the market moves, then we have a little bit of flexibility, but we will not exceed 4 3/4 as the maximum true interest cost. And then the final maturity date is April 1st of 2042, which is the existing last maturity of the 2016 bonds. So we will not be extending the debt, okay? That's important for you to know. Now, the delegated authority, we're asking for 365 days because that gives us enough time for us to actually get into the market at the right time, okay? Right now, and I'm going to go through the next steps, we're looking at getting into the market early in 2026. But what you really need to understand is by approving the parameters authorization, then your leadership has the authority to actually execute on the refunding.
So what you're saying is that you have a year to do this?
I'm sorry?
You'll have a year, 365 days?
That's right.
From today or when we do?
From when we take action.
So right after we approve it, if we approve it?
That's right.
Okay.
So for example, in December, and I'm going to go now to the schedule of events, I'll mention that. So right now, we're looking at December the 2nd for the meeting where you would actually take action. And if you take action to move forward with the refunding, we have 365 days from that date.
Yeah, because you're going to have a lot of action on the Fed board here.
That's right.
Here in May.
That's right. And so let me go through the calendar of events because, like I said, we're trying to work this pricing early in 2026. We do not expect to go out to the 365 days.
And what you're saying is we're not going to go anything above 4.75.
That's correct. That is correct. And I think we're going to be better in terms of the interest at the end of the day. And so now, the last thing that I want to mention, is obviously our schedule of events, the things that we have to work on. So November is a very important month because we've been working with the administration to pull together all the documents that are going to need to, be sent to the bond investors. So we're preparing the preliminary official statement for the marketing of the refunding. Here in the next couple of weeks, your administration would be selecting the group of underwriters that actually will be helping us find the bond investors for your new bonds, okay? And so that is important because the underwriters are the firms that find the investors, and that at the day of closing, they're the ones that come with the check, okay? So it's a very important role, okay? Now, for the month of December, so once, we've moved through this month, then we have December. We would be back to you on December the 2nd, actually, for the formal action and the parameters authorization. That month, also, we have a set of meetings that are very important as well. We're looking at meeting with the rating agencies. I know you're familiar, some of you are familiar with that process. I'll just kind of summarize it. The college is rated by 2 rating agencies, okay? It's Standard & Poor's and Fitch. Now, why is that important? Like, going back to the scenario that I was giving you about, taking out a loan for your home. Okay, so a FICO score is what we have when we go out to get a loan, right? Well, a credit rating is the same, but on bonds, right? And so the college has really great ratings, okay? So Standard & Poor's, which is one of the top rating agencies in the nation, and in the world actually, has you rated as a AA+, okay? That is one notch below the AAA, which is the one rating that everybody wants, but AA+ is absolutely fantastic. So congratulations to you and to the staff for that. Then Fitch has you rated at a AA+. I'm sorry, a AA, okay? And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna be meeting with them again. We're gonna get your bonds rated, and so that is gonna be around the middle of December. About a week thereafter, we'll receive the ratings, and we'll be ready to basically go out and price, okay? So in the month of January, we will finalize all the documentation, we will market your bonds, and then we will price them, and then we will be closing by February of 2026. So we don't anticipate to go the 365 days. It only gives us enough room in the event that the market is very volatile and that we can hit it by the time that we put on the calendar. And then last but not least, I do want to talk a little bit about the market because I think it's very important for us to kind of know where we are. And so what you have in front of you, okay, is what we call the 20-year MMD. It's a yield curve. And the way that I want you to think about it is really a pool of about 20 municipal bonds. And we track them, and then every single day or year, in this case every month, you'll see that we're tracking where they're pricing, okay? So that means from January of 2021, which is COVID, you can see how the interest rates are so low, right? And if you look all the way to the right, that's where we are right now, okay? And so what I want you to really look at is this far column right here. Because that is where we are right now. And one of the reasons that your refunding is so favorable right now is because we have actually been seeing interest rates come down. So we want to make sure that we capture the market and actually get the best savings for the college. Okay, so that's one of the reasons I wanted to show this to you because we're basically at the same levels as we were back in May of 2025.
So
Okay?
they cut it another 25 points, it'll go down to 350?
We're waiting to see, obviously right now there's another expectation.
Bar right there, it would show it come down to
That's right.
350.
Yeah. And so right now there is an expectation that there may be another 25 basis point cut in the short-term rates by December. But that could be pushed until 2026. So we're tracking the market very closely, and hopefully all of that will bode well for the refunding for the college. And by the time that we actually price and close, we can come back to you with better numbers. And so with that, I'm just going to open it up for any discussion, any questions that you may have on any of the information that I've provided to you tonight.
Okay, hypothetical. We get it at 3.5, right? That would cut our payment down to what? Would save how much money?
So right now we're at about 375, and so if you were to lower it 25 basis points, I think maybe we could add another $1.5 million or $1 million to the savings, and that's just rough estimate. But one thing I do want to mention is we're talking about the short-term interest rates, it doesn't necessarily impact the long-term interest rates, okay? So here's what I mean by that. So the short-term is about a year, okay? So that's really how they determine the cuts. What we're looking at is 17-year debt, okay? And so I think that maybe a short-term, like we've seen, let me go back to my chart here. Can you hear me all right if I stand?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so if you see here, when we were back in 2024, when the Fed decided not to, when they first started deciding to not raise rates, right? Right here, look at how they started cutting and the interest rates were going up, right? And so the interest rates went up all the way to about January of 2025, or March, I'm sorry. And so now that the Fed has started cutting the rates, we're starting to see the long-term rates actually come down. So what I'm trying to say, it's very confusing, but what I'm telling you is that what you're seeing with this graph right here is very favorable. Because the long-term, which is what we need to be tracking, is coming down, okay? And so with another cut or two, maybe that will further compress those long-term interest rates. I can't promise you anything, though. I wish we could bring them down, but
You'd be a very rich person.
but I mean, $9 million is a lot of money, right? Of being able to save $9 million, and this is just sorry, $9 million today is great, right? You're saving roughly about $570,000. $500,000 of debt that you don't have to pay per year. That's a pretty great.
And we could apply that to the new loan, and that goes straight to principal, right?
So it will open up capacity, basically. It will give you the ability to take on additional debt if that's what you want to do.
Ms. Urbina, quick question. So obviously I see the rates, the historical rates in 21, we were at historical lows. And so my question is, which I already know the answer, but I want you to explain it anyway. Why didn't we go in 21 when rates were so low?
Can you repeat them? Sorry.
No, it's okay. So you're exactly where I wanted you to be. So why didn't we try to refinance in 2021 when rates were so low?
That's a very great question. And one of the things that I forgot to mention has to do with, going back to the example that I gave you. So when you go out to get a loan for your home, you go for a 30-year debt, right? You get to go out and actually refinance at any time. Governmental bodies like the college cannot. So when you issue 25 or 30-year debt, you're locked at 10 years and you can't do anything.
Right.
And so 2021 was like 6 years after, and so 5 years after, and so at this point, we couldn't do anything.
That's exactly what I wanted the board to
And
recognize.
I forgot to mention that it's like there's a call feature and we're there.
Right.
So April 1st of 2026 will be the first time really when we can actually look at refunding your bonds. And luckily, interest rates are coming down from I don't want to say all-time highs, but all-time highs in the last 5 years.
So even though we're closing the refunding bonds in February, the old bonds can actually be paid off until
April. That's right. And what will happen is we will lock the funds, okay, in an escrow account. And so on the date of closing, they will be deposited, they'll earn a little bit of interest, and then on April 1st, they will be paid off to the bondholders. And so that's going to be the process.
So right after the refunding closes.
That's right. Yeah, 2 months, so the money will be locked in an account. Now, what's positive for the college is that the 2016 bonds will be legally paid out, and they will no longer be in your books. The 2026 will now overtake the 2016 bonds.
And that'll be a 16-year time frame.
That's right, that's right. And I'll say another thing, so we're looking at your 2026 bonds, they still have about a 16-year life. So we'll probably have either a 9 or 10-year call. So we might even have a second opportunity to go out and refund 10 years after. So.
And then one final question. I know this isn't anything that we had discussed. But I'd ask that you and your colleague work with Mr. Flores and his team and look at, the college is in a really good, strong financial position, and it's a tribute to the board, our team, as well as our financial advisors, so thank you all. But I'd ask that you work with Mr. Flores and his team and look at the possibility, what if the board chose to, or provided authority for us to potentially pay down some of those bonds during this call. So I know we owe roughly $100 million. If the college was able to pull together $20, $25 million, what would that do?
Yes, and one thing I'll mention, so right now, the college, your yearly payments are about $9 million, okay? If you just kind of look at your savings potential, it's about $9 million. So when we ran that scenario, yes, you could definitely pay off bonds and shorten the life of your, shorten the life of your old bonds, but you would only be able to save really 1 year. So your final maturity would be in 2041 as opposed to 2042. It's definitely possible, and to Dr. Sarata's point, so, you know, we basically ran a scenario where you would pay exactly the same amount of money that you're paying right now, and that way you don't have to pay any more, right? But then if we could accelerate, you know, and actually pay off bonds, what would that be? And that's the scenario. We would save a little bit more money. Do you remember what the amount was?
So you would save more money, but I'm sorry, less money, and so it wouldn't be favorable because you start losing savings
Agreed.
through the years once you run that scenario, and only you can shorten it out to.
Yeah, I'm looking at a slightly different scenario where we owe, $104 million. My scenario now, and again, my apologies because I hadn't thought of this before, but if we had $20 million that the college chose to, during the refinance, to pay off a portion of the bonds, and then we just have $85 million. If you can run the analysis for the board and just see what kind of savings that would be.
So contribute $20
Correct.
million in addition, and then you want to consider the, you know, the shortening of the $9 million, that way we bring it up as much as possible?
I'd ask you to
Okay.
decide.
No, yes, I'm just already kind of thinking how the numbers
Sure.
are going to play out, and so I just wanted to make sure that if we were still talking about kind of that same scenario, but with $20 million to.
Yeah, if the college contributed, yeah.
Dr. Sarata,
Yeah.
you're talking about this here for April 1, right? Okay.
Yeah, again, the college has been in a good and fortunate position that at the end of every fiscal year, we have a little bit of savings, and we've accumulated that. If we were able to say, well, we want to put 20 million towards what we owe right now, what kind of scenario would that
We'll
provide?
run those two scenarios. I've already, with what you're saying, I already kind of know there's two scenarios we can run for you. And would you like for us to present that at the December meeting, or come back to you at another time? Before the.
Oh, I'm comfortable seeing it before.
Absolutely, no, absolutely.
But with the board, yes, so we can present it to them at that
Absolutely,
point.
so we will go ahead and work on putting those two scenarios, and then you can decide. Here's the great part of this. You know, we can have that discussion on December the 2nd, and you don't even need to make a decision at that time as to what structure you favor. As long as we have the parameter going out to 2042, you can make a decision right before we actually go to price, and then we do whatever the college feels is the right thing to do.
Any questions from the board, please? I can't thank Ms. Urbina and her colleague and Mr. Flores, Ms. Zuniga, for all the work they've put into this. It's always great for me and the staff to be able to bring to the board potential savings of millions of dollars, and so I'm excited about the opportunity. But I want to make sure that if you all have any questions, Ms. Urbina's heard a lot of mine as well as new ones, so please.
And what I wanted to say too is thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. Obviously, we have been working with the district for a very long time. I've been very fortunate. Actually, I went to the community college, and so has Ivan and his brother and sister. And so we love El Paso. We're from El Paso, and we're always very thankful for the opportunity to be here and to help out.
Thank you for helping us. Yes.
I do kind of have a lot of interest in the suggestion from Dr. Serrata to see if there's a reduction, because in the long run, If we could reduce it, it would be even better.
And I think, well, by only just contributing money, right, you're definitely gonna save some money. It just depends on the structure and how flexible are to not lose savings and save as much as you can. And the reason when we ran that scenario shortening, we just didn't want to lose and have negative savings throughout the years. And so with that, we'll run those scenarios with the $20 million contribution.
Yeah, maybe you could have them by the December 2nd meeting.
Yes.
Yes, we sure will. We'll be back with that information.
Any? Mrs. Moore?
No, no
All right.
questions.
Anything else?
Mr. Mendez?
Thank you.
Short and sweet, whenever we can save money.
Because she was answering, and she was going, she was like, is it gonna shorten it? Because it's looking good. You know, so yeah.
Do we need to go into executive? Do we need to go in executive?
can
No
adjourn.
executive session, Judge.
Can we adjourn?
Yeah,
Go to executive.
we don't need an executive session, sir. And then 6.1, we don't need any action on.
We are adjourned.
Richard?
We are adjourned.